didn't expect to be doing this podcast today. I want to build the best value educational podcast platform that the world's ever fucking seen. Today I was just absolutely fuming. There's a truth there that perhaps I don't want to accept. In order to get where you want to go, in order to get to the level that you've never been before, you have to let go of everything you've known along the way that's got you to the level you're at. We are in the top 5% most shared podcasts in the world. I have picked goals with my ladders leant against the wrong wall for the pure reason of I was doing something because someone else had achieved something, so I thought, you know what, I want to achieve that too. That has been the most painful loss. Quick one before we jump into this podcast, do me a solid favour, hit that like button, hit subscribe and drop a comment below this video. If you're looking to remove images, videos, search results or fake accounts online, go to contentremoval.com, but don't take my word for it, here's Hormozy.
Frank, you're a fucking legend. I just saw this. Layla also thinks you're a legend, which in my mind means you're which means you're a double legend in my mind. If you get my wife to think you're a legend, then you're extra cool in my mind. Dude, thank you so much, genuinely. That was such a pain.
Well, let's be honest. I didn't expect to be doing this podcast today in this manner, but we're here and you've got me on my own. I know it's the first podcast where I've actually sat down on my own since probably about episode 2, maybe 3 would be the last time. And I think, do you know what? I published a podcast this week with a guy called Ahmed, Aquaman. He owns one of the biggest water parks in Dubai. And there were some problems. There were problems with it from the start in terms of like the uploads file size because of the quality of the content that we've taken the podcast to now with the 4K cameras. And we just had problem after problem after problem. And when we put it out, the audio wasn't up to my normal standard. And it was listenable, but it wasn't listenable to the level that I wanted it to be. So I've since pulled it down. And as you can imagine, with someone that you guys all know that's so passionate about podcasting the way that I am and passionate about what we're doing for this audience and how we're taking it forward, you can imagine how frustrated I was. 1, because that podcast was late on the upload. 2, because it took longer to edit than anything we've ever experienced before. And 3, because all that was predicated on the fact that I'd gone out and spent more money to raise the value of the content. So today I was just absolutely fuming. And as you can imagine, I'm sat there and I'm thinking the world's ending and I'm wanting to fight and everything else. I'm thinking, I should have just give this up. And, you know, all these thoughts come through your head. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I'm sure many of you have been in this space yourselves and you've struggled in areas of your life like this where you're constantly being tested. And I felt like this was one of these tests today in podcasting and I've had many of them over the last 3 years, but I thought it was one of those tests where they're saying, do you know what, Frankie boy, it's time you stepped on that mic on your own and you stepped up and you came and sat down on your own today. That's what we're calling. That's what we're calling out. That's what we're calling you for. And that's what I want to do today. I really want to have an open and honest conversation with you guys, the audience. Obviously, when I started this podcast on about episode 3, when I sat down last time I sat down on my own on episode 3, I think there was probably about 50 listeners. Obviously, we're at tens of thousands now. It's a little bit of a different conversation, but I really want to have it with you because a lot has changed in my life in the last 30 to 60 days because of this podcast and because of my vision for this podcast. And I think what I might be able to share with you today might help you align your goals, help you align your vision, help you align more of what you want for your life. And that's why I think I feel so called to do this. And I hope this episode with me on my own brings you that value and allows you more structure to set that vision and that purpose for your year. So I just want to take it back maybe 35, 40 days ago. I was actually sat on the beach in the Gold Coast, and if many of you have seen my kind of lifestyle in Australia and on Instagram on @FrankieLee, if you want to follow me there, I've lived for the last 8.5 years. Not the easiest of lives in terms of in the initial period, but definitely a more privileged one on the back end of time where I lived in a beautiful apartment, a beautiful location, And it's really an abundant place, Australia, especially the Gold Coast. You couldn't want to live in a better location in terms of how I've lived. And I went down to the beach and I was sat there and I was thinking to myself, what do I want to build with this podcast? And what came into my mind was, I want to build the best value educational podcast platform that the world's ever fucking seen. That's what I vision. And then I thought to myself, right, what do I need to make that happen? Well, I need this guest, I need this guest, I need this guest, I need this guest. And I'm thinking about all these names of all these people that I want to get on. And it's getting me more and more hyped. And I'm sat there and I'm like buzzing my tits off. I'm like, yeah, I can do that, I can see it. Because what's most important when you set a goal, guys, is when you set a goal, you have to sit there, close your eyes for a moment, and imagine you're achieving that goal, or you're in that situation where that goal of yours is coming true. What that allows you to do is it allows you to imagine it allows you to try that goal on. It allows you to get really present with it, and allows you to feel how that would feel on you and what that would look like. So I was kind of getting into that. What is it like? I was just sat there with my eyes closed, just thinking about, what it's like to interview Jordan Peterson, a man I've met and spoken to on one occasion anyway. And it's like people like that. I'm like, what it's like, and I'm just getting that buzz, I'm getting that feeling. I'm like, that feels good to me. And I want you to do that for yourself with your goals this year. The reason I say that is because it's very important when you're in situations like that you're not picking a goal predicated on what other people might pick for themselves. Because so many times in life throughout my journey, I have picked goals with my ladders leant against the wrong wall for the pure reason of I was doing something because someone else had achieved something. So I thought, you know what, I want to achieve that too. And that's how a lot of people set their goals. And if you do it like that, what you do is you end up achieving a goal and you feel empty about it, because it wasn't actually your goal to achieve, it was actually someone else's. So be really, really mindful of that. So if you imagine then, so I'm sat there like that and I'm getting buzzing. And then I'm thinking about all the things that I need to make this happen. Because obviously once you've got your goal and you set your goal, and then you've gone into the vision of it and you felt it and you tried it on and you go, do you know what, that's my goal, that's what I want to achieve in my life and that's what I want to do. It's like, well, what's got to happen to make that happen? And then it kind of went a bit silent in my head. And it paused for a moment and I thought, fuck. And when that happens to me on a personal level, it means there's a truth there that perhaps I don't want to accept. So I'll start looking for what that truth is, because at the end of the day, the faster you face those truths, the faster you accept those truths, the faster you can move through life. But when those truths come into your life, they are going to test you in ways that you've never felt before. And the honest thing I felt in that moment when I was sat there on that beach looking out in the most beautiful location, I thought, do you know what? I've literally got to let go of everything I know right now to go to the next level. Everything. I've got to let go of the car that I love. I've got to let go of the apartment, the location, my lifestyle in Australia. Everything's got to go. Because in order to get where you want to go, in order to get to the level that you've never been before, you have to let go of everything you've known along the way that's got you to the level you're at. And it was just such a profound feeling in my mind, and something that really, really scared me. Like, because I've stripped myself naked and started again in certain terms many times in my life. I did it once in 2013, 2014 when I came to Australia. I did it again when in Australia when I left my identity as a professional boxing trainer and had to restart and rebuild again from that, when I'd built a lot of my character and a lot of my substance on that, and a lot of who I was based on identifying with that as my name, Frankie Lee, professional boxing trainer. I had adapted my whole life to being that name. That's what it was. And when you put so much self-worth into a car, into a place, into a home, into a person, into a thing, when you put so much time and energy into achieving something, and then you make it a part of you like that, it's really, really hard to know when to let that go, and to be willing enough to let that go, so that you can grow and go to the next level. So obviously I'm sat there, and this is all dawning on me. You have got to the point now where you have to reinvent yourself radically reinvent yourself. You cannot live the same life next year as you've lived this year if you want to achieve more than that. And the writing was on the wall, because it's even after I recorded the Peter Try podcast. Peter Try said to me, he took me to one side, Peter Try said to me, Frankie, mate, you are good, but you got to level up. You've got to level up. You've got to level up your camera game. You've got to level up the mic game. You've got to level up where you're recording. You've got to level up your location. You've got to level up everything, the clips, everything's got to change, mate. You've got to go to the next level. And other people had said it to me too, guests in the last, even when I did the Reebok podcast with Joe Foster said to me, Frankie, you're good, but you got to leave Australia. And so many people along the way, Sam, Fortify, he said to me, Frankie, you're good, you got to leave Australia. Now when obviously I'm sat there and I'm like, I've come to the culmination now, I've got to sell my car, I've got to get rid of this apartment, and I've got to leave the country that I love. And why have I got to do that? Because I realised in that moment that I have to, if I want to deliver the value that I want to deliver to you, if I want to take this to the level that I want to take it for me, for you, for everyone that's listening, if I want to put the conversations together that I know that I can facilitate in a better way than anyone else, I know I can ask these people better questions than these other top podcasters in this game. I know that for sure. You put me in the room with the right guest at the right time, with the passion and the vision that I have for this, I know for a fact that I'll get better information out of these people, more depth, more truth, no bullshit. I know I can get that information, but I've got to be able to facilitate that conversation. I've got to be able to get in the room, and in order to be able to get in the room, I've got to be in the circle of or vicinity of the areas to be able to get into that room. So I knew I had to leave Australia to do that, and that's ultimately what I decided to do. Obviously I'm sat here recording this in England, leaving Australia, selling my car, getting rid of the apartment was one of the most emotionally draining things I've ever had to do, because I was stripping away every part of my identity. And the reason I'm telling you all this is not to go into my journey, so to speak. It's because when you guys are sat there with your goals today, I don't just want you to look at your goals and think to yourself, what do I want to achieve this year? I want you to look at your goals and think, what am I willing to let go of this year in order to take me to that next level of growth that I am too scared to experience, because I know I've got to lose a little bit of part of myself in order to reinvent myself, to take myself to that next level. I need you to be able to have that honest conversation the way that I'm having the honest conversation with you today, because this podcast is built upon break patterns and flip perspectives. And if I don't showcase this vulnerability, whatever you want to call it right now, and come on here and sit on here today, dust myself off from a bad week, sit down, have this honest conversation with you, and show you about how I'm having to break patterns and flip perspectives in my own life. If I don't show you that, how can I expect you guys to go and action that in your own lives? Yeah. This is more than a podcast to me. This is a series of conversations that are curated to help facilitate your growth to the next fucking level of your life. Something that can be a companion for you, that follows you throughout your whole journey. And when you're having a hard fucking day and you know life's tough and everything's not going the way you want to go, like the few weeks that I've had, where I've had to literally lose everything about myself in order to be able to facilitate this next level, I want you to know you can put this in your ears and just go to a completely different fucking level, because you got you get that self-belief within yourself that this is, do you know what? Frankie's right here. It's time to go through the gears. It's time to move on up. It's time to push through. It's time to stop fucking around and start to take this thing to the whole next level. Now, when I say the next level for this podcast, what I want to explain that to you. There's a few key areas that I want to really address this year. There's the one key area with you guys I want to address is I want to find a way to build a community that you all become a part of, that not only supports the podcast, but supports your growth and moves you forward. And I'm open to ideas on the way that is facilitated. And just DM me if you have ideas on how you want that facilitated, because I want to facilitate that for you, because it's something that's missing with this podcast. We don't have the community where you all go to, I need this, I need this, I need this. Can someone help me with this? I want that kind of community. A community of like-minded individuals, winners, proven winners at all levels of life, that wanna meet other people that listen to this podcast and are going in the same direction. I want that. I'm open to ideas on how that looks and how that's built, and I'll go away and build it. But I just need some help on facilitating how that happens. But that's one thing. That's one of my goals this year. My second goal this year for this podcast is I wanna get it. I'll share with you some of the results. So as we currently stand as a podcast, we're in the top 1% in the world on Spotify of most listened to podcasts. We are in the top 5% most shared podcasts in the world. Well, for a start, one of my goals is to take us to the top 1% of most shared podcasts in the world from 5%. And I need your help doing that. And it's to get us into the top 0.1%, where the Rogans are in the world, where the Stephen Bartletts are. I don't think that we're far off getting there with the right guests, with the right information, with the right conversations facilitated. We're not far off it, but I need your help. So any podcasts that you get value from this year, the cost to entry, the only cost to entry would be that if you get value from any conversation that we have on this podcast, please just share it with as many people as possible. Please post it in that WhatsApp group. Please share it on your social medias. Please, even if you've shared 15 podcasts before, I would just really, really appreciate it. It helps me, especially in times that get a little bit hard, like the last few weeks have been, because it just really helps level up the game. It really helps me know that we're going in the right direction. My other goal this year with this podcast is to book the biggest and best names possible, but also one of my passions about this podcast is pulling on names that don't go on every other podcast. And that's very, very, very important to me, because it's like, even some of the podcasts we've facilitated in the past, like, Paul Richardson from Gymshark and Ash White from Hera and all these other podcasts that are just not done on every podcast. And that's when you can pull out the most valuable information. So it's something I'm real keen on doing. Also, in the next 12 months, what I would really love to do is do live events, have live events where we all meet up in different locations in the world and just get groups of people together and just, facilitate conversations happening, live interviews with guests. I've just got so many visions for what I want to achieve, and I just need as much help as possible. I mean, here's another thing. Because I want to keep this on value for you and goal setting. So when I set my goals this year, I set all these big audacious goals for the podcast, and obviously I've had to change my life to facilitate that growth, that ultimate goal. I had to change the direction of my life to facilitate that ultimate goal to be a top education podcast that's ever been. And the reason I'm going into this and saying that is because you guys might have to see, when you've written down these goals and you felt them and you know that they're good for you, you're going to have to write down on the page next to it, okay, this is the goal I want to achieve. This is the time frame. Who can help me get there, right? And I realise this audience probably has a lot of people in it that could help this podcast grow. I'm sure there's some of you that are really good at YouTube that could help me grow the YouTube. I'm sure there's some of you that are really good at making clips that could help us do more clips, put out more content on social media. I'm sure there's lots of you with lots of ideas and value plays that actually listen to the content and had value out of me over the last maybe 12, 24, 36 months, hopefully, and could potentially jump on board and help in some respect. And I'm just putting that out there for some of you to get in contact with me if that is you, if that is something you're interested in doing or something you can facilitate, help on board, ways to drive more traffic, all this kind of stuff, because I'm open to listening and learning. And one of the key things when setting goals and setting expectations for the year ahead for you guys is the fact that you not only set the goal, but you make sure that when you set the goal, you kind of look around your network, so to speak, or the people that you know, the people that you talk to, because I hate the word network, your friendship group, your social circle, however you want to put it. You look around there and you see what value you have within that network that can help you facilitate you getting to that next level. Because so many of us make these audacious goals and then don't put in a plan of attack on how to go from the goal to what action steps have got to happen in order for you to facilitate that goal. And that's why 90% of people's goals never get achieved because of that reason. So it's something that if you can just put down, like I said, on that piece of paper, the goal, feel the goal. Once you've felt it and once you're in it, once you know that feels good on for you, once you know that sits well with who you want to be, then reverse engineer back from the outcome of how you're going to achieve that goal and the people that you need on the bus in order to facilitate it. So, look, guys, I know this episode is not probably one that you probably wanted, to be honest. You probably wanted the guest, you probably wanted me to be sat down, and I wanted that too. But one thing's for sure, right? When it comes to situations like this where you can tap out, I could have sat there, sulked for a few more hours, been pissed off, gone down the boxing gym, hit the bag for 12 rounds. When you can do that, or you can actually come and just try and make a move forward, I'm going to always just try and lean into making a move forward. And this is especially what this podcast is about. It's about breaking patterns, flipping perspectives, moving forward, taking things to the next level. And I want that for you in 2023, right? So the most key point in this podcast that I want you to take when it comes to setting goals and setting your vision for the year, for everything that you want to achieve, the key thing, the key question you have to ask yourself is, what part of myself am I willing to lose in order to take me to the next level? Which part of me has to die? Because at every level you go through the gears, another part of you has to die, and it has to die in the most painful way that you'll ever experience. Just like how experienced leaving Australia, leaving behind a life that was 8.5 years for me, that has been the most painful loss. But on the other side of that, I hope to take it to the next level. Much love. Guys, do me a solid favour, drop a comment below this video and let us know who you want on the podcast next.